Okay, great. Well, hi, Lawson. It's
Ah,
so good to see you again. I got to officially meet you at the Outdoor Media Summit in Boise, Idaho, which is such a beautiful city, by the way. Oh my gosh! And that was just last week, or last month. That was in September, and it was such a treat to go. My podcast won an award for best outdoor podcast episode of 2022, and I was just so shocked and so grateful and honored to be there to accept that. And then I got to meet you there, which was so cool because and I think when I met you, I was wearing a pair of minus 33 socks that I had from, a couple years prior. That are still very much intact and have no worn spots or no holes. And I wear them out. Like I wear them all the time, but they're not worn out. So I'm really psyched to have you here to talk about the wonders of wool. So, Lawson, my friend, can you please go ahead and introduce yourself to my listeners?
so I'm Lawson Glidden, the president of Minus 33, which is just merino wool, and we sell base layer socks, hats, balaclavas, basically any piece of gear that you would want to be made out of merino wool. We make that out of merino wool. We have a very long list of different products, but that's because when it comes to wool, I feel like, and I think I said this to you at OMS, I feel like I don't sell wool. I just tell people about it and then they buy it on their own once they realize how amazing it is. Because it's that misconception that I always have to mention where people think of their grandmother's sweater and it's itchy and but it's so soft and comfortable and wonderful. And then it's the safest thing you can wear outside too. So it's just
Right.
an amazing product.
So, and you told me, which really was so amazing to me, and I think it really shines light on your passion for what you do and the product that you sell, is that you are the fourth generation,
Fifth.
fifth. I'm sorry, you are the
No
fifth
problem. It's a
generation
lot.
working, like running minus 33.
Right,
So tell us about
yes.
that.
So in 1916, my dad's uncle started LW Packard, which was it started LW Packard, which is a textile mill in Ashley, New Hampshire. And that ran for 80 or so years until about 2002 when everyone we sold wool to moved overseas and everyone that we bought wool from moved overseas. And so we had to close down. But when we closed down that giant wool flat goods, that facility, we opened up minus 33 to sell garments, and joined that whole wave of, manufacturing just everywhere else. But our preference is manufacturing here, which is why we bought the sock machines and we're making them right here in this facility, which I really love because now I get to design and make socks made out of mostly merino wool. So it's just an amazing journey from, not thinking I would be in the textile industry at all to being
Here
here, the
you are.
president. Yeah, I know. I'm just excited to be here, really, and then also to talk about wool like 100% of the time. It's my favorite thing.
I could tell it's your favorite thing, and I could tell when I was at Outdoor Media Summit that it was your favorite thing because you just you light up, like you literally ignite when you're talking about wool. So it's kind of fun to watch. Okay, so can you just tell me, what is merino wool, and where do you get your merino wool from?
So merino wool it's just wool, but it's finer. So, like a cotton sheet with a 10,000 counts, that's just a really fine fiber. So it feels soft. So what merino wool is wool that's very fine. And that comes from Australia. So, or New Zealand mostly. It has to do with the type of sheep, which is a merino sheep, but it also has to do with the climate that they're in. The environment they're in really helps them grow the wool to be finer or softer. And so almost all of our wool comes from Australia, and some of it sometimes comes from New Zealand. And those are the two climates that really work with for the wool we're using in our garments.
And so it's not, when I'm wearing I have a handful. I probably have 4 or 5 minus 33 pieces. A couple of them are
Hmm.
socks. One's a long sleeve layer with a three quarter or quarter zip with a hood.
Yep.
That I've lived in.
It's
My
one of my
boyfriend's like, "You
favorites.
should probably wash that." I'm like, "Why? I'm wearing it."
Yep.
Um, and I have a hat and I have your fingerless gloves, and I love them. I love all of it.
Mhm.
Nothing has worn out. It's been fantastic. But why is it so like soft to me versus you think of wool. Many people think of wool and they think itchiness, but you're saying it's just because the fibers are just so thin?
Well, yeah, those thin fibers, they're not as, I guess we're going to go with sturdy. So if you think of just a wool sweater from, you would imagine from, or a time before, those fibers were really thick and rugged. So when they were woven into your garment, they would, kind of be prickly and spiky, and that's what's hitting your skin. That's what's giving you that discomfort. But when you get them down to a nice thin, fine, very low micron is the word they use. It actually bends and flexes, and your skin doesn't get itchy or doesn't get scratched by it, and then it's very soft. And then all of the properties of wool that help thermoregulate, keep the moisture off you, but don't dry out your skin. All of that stuff leads to just long-term comfort in the merino wool. So there's just a lot of different properties that sheep over the thousands and thousands of years that they were evolving have developed that we've actually with these merino sheep really refined into a way that it's comfortable and it's just very very uh, warm when you're cold and cold when you're hot.
Well, and one more question too is like, uh, why I have some other synthetic fabric long sleeve outdoor wear clothes. Well, I mean, it's
Hmm.
actually, to be honest, it's like all I have because I'm an outdoor educator for the last 15 years. But how come when I wear -33, like how come when I wear that one shirt I was just talking about that I've like lived in,
Hmm.
I don't know, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like I said, it's a long sleeve, has thumb holes, has a hood, and it has a three-quarter zip or quarter zip. That does not stink. I could be
Hmm.
smelling myself, and I do not smell myself. And I have a lot of other brands that maybe they're not wool, maybe it's just a different synthetic, but they kind of stink after a while. But this one doesn't stink. So, is there something that you could tell me why yours doesn't do that?
Yeah, and so merino wool and wool in general, it's antimicrobial. The wool has natural proteins on it that will you know kill microbes or at least limit their growth. But there's a lot of different little things going on in the wool, such as the way that it spreads the water throughout your body, or the water from your body throughout the wool, and the way that it keeps the wool in the air pocket, the water in air pockets. It basically it's not allowing the microbes to take hold, and that's what's causing the odor. Your sweat actually doesn't smell that bad. It's it
Thank you.
getting into garment, yes, and then that goes for everybody.
Oh,
It's the microbes that are eating your sweat that's causing that, and because wool will naturally just absorb that sweat off your body and spread out the water and basically drag those microbes across the proteins that kill it. That is one really great reason why it's not stinky. The other one is the oils from your body don't absorb into wool very well. So, like a synthetic will absorb those oils and then kind
oh,
of create a really great bed for microbes to grow. And, so it's that juxtaposition that makes it look like, wool isn't stinky at all, but really it's just not letting the microbes exist.
okay. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you're not going to believe this,
Hmm.
and that's fine. But I'm not a liar,
All
and
right.
you know that sweater that what sweater did you give Jay when we were at Outdoor Media Summit? What was that called? That piece called?
That is our work shirt. It's lovingly called the shacket because it's a shirt jacket. It's warm enough to be a jacket, but it's light enough to be a shirt. But it's a very very nice piece. I think it's right here.
Oh, that's it. Except for
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. But you gave him the green one,
I did.
and
Yes.
so he kind of lives. That's his layer. He's got a bunch of that style
Hmm.
weight and they're usually flannels, they're usually button ups, and so that's very much his style of clothes, of top layer.
Hmm.
And you gifted him that when we were at OMS last month, and he wore that last week when he flew out to go deer hunting here in Alaska on a unnamed island. I'm not going to tell the name of the island on the
Hmm.
show, but he went deer hunting. He flew his Super Cub to go deer hunting last week, and he was hiking in that shacket, green shacket,
Hmm.
and he actually got bit by a brown bear.
Wow.
And not kidding. The bear bit him in the side. He's
Oh, wow.
extremely lucky to have survived and be okay. Just a couple of really deep puncture wounds. Nothing. The bear did not bite any of his important organs, and he, just wrapped himself up with a game bag, hiked down 5 miles to his plane,
Hmm.
picking me some angel wing mushrooms and some gray currants along the way. Like, why are you doing
Wow.
that? Just get to your plane. And he gets in
Yeah.
his plane and he flies himself back to Anchorage, and then goes to the emergency room and gets staples to close these, massive puncture wounds from the brown bear's teeth in his side. Um, that is a real true story. And
That's
what's so
incredible.
fascinating is when I looked at that sweater, there were
Hmm.
no holes in the sweater. There was some
That
blood.
is
There's a bunch of blood on the sweater, but it kind of
right.
soaked in pretty well. But there were no holes. So I had
That
to
is
tell you that because
amazing.
I'm like, how could he have holes in his flesh, but no holes that went through the sweater? So I wanted to share that with you.
I am going to share that with everyone that I meet from now on because that is the coolest story about our product. I will say that the shacket is part of our White Mountain Woolens collection, so it's not actually merino wool. It's a slightly thicker version of wool,
Oh,
so it's a thicker strand, which means that it might have the added durability to resist a grizzly bear bite. I guess that's that's not what they're designed for, but I'm sure glad it did that.
yeah.
I hope it helped at all.
We're not marketing. Okay, first of all, caveat disclaimer to all of the Sharpen listeners. Lawson and I are not marketing this product as a bear deterrent or a bear armor. That is not what we're doing. I'm just
No,
shedding light on the fact that this happened, and that's crazy.
that is very impressive. I mean, it's just you think a brown bear and you think powerful bite, and
Oh, it
and then
was.
it
Yeah.
it punctured, but it didn't. Wow, that's just
Yeah,
a very strong
he
comment.
had like literally he had puncture wounds, in his side from the bear bite, and then he had some scratches up here, and then some scratches down on his waist from the
Hmm.
claws. But he's okay, and he's
Yes,
doing a lot
that
better, yesterday and today. But yeah, that happened. So, okay, moving on.
wow.
I just had to share that with you. I thought you'd be so
I
impressed. Okay, another
I
question I have
am.
for you is tell us a little bit about why one should wear or choose wool
Mhm.
over cotton.
Okay, well, that one is, one of the biggest reasons that wool is safe is that cotton, when it gets wet, it gets waterlogged, and when it gets waterlogged, it's just like normal sweating. It's going to evaporate all of that water and conduct heat off your body, and you're just going to lose way more heat than if you weren't wearing a shirt at all. If you're wearing a wet cotton shirt, and that's because there's no air in the fibers, and that's where wool is different. Wool
Right.
is naturally crimped. All of the sheep that didn't have naturally crimping hair didn't make it through the evolution process. And so what it does is it creates tiny little air pockets inside the fabric, inside the strands of the wool, and then you can start heating those up with your body heat, those air pockets. So it allows you to create a barrier, which is what you're trying to go for with clothing, between you and the elements, even if it's fully waterlogged. You hike a big hike during the day, the sun goes down, it gets really cold, you're sweaty. Now you're in trouble if you're wearing cotton. If you're wearing wool, you can just start walking and your body will heat it up and you will be warm. And it's the number one safety thing about merino wool, is that if you get wet, you can warm yourself up again, without changing into dry clothes immediately. Because normally when you're in a situation like that, you don't have dry clothes available. So if you are going out into the wilderness and there's any chance that it might be adverse or cold, you are way safer in wool, and you're way more comfortable in merino wool. But wool in general is the safety uh, feature of this job, and I really like telling people about it because uh, it's just statistically way more likely. And you can talk to any search and rescue people, any wardens, and they will tell you, you're going out, it's snow, there's snow on the ground, you really need to be wearing wool. It just
Well, as an outdoor educator for, 15 years, I've taught my students time and time again, cotton kills.
it does, yes.
So,
That's the truth of it, and it really is just about that natural structure of wool. It has very small crimps and bends in it and the makeup of wool, the chemicals, the proteins, all of that stuff helps to trap those little air pockets all throughout. And you just have to imagine a sheep falling in a river when it's cold. Well, it survived. So how?
yeah.
It's because it can create that warmth inside its protective shell.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit about you making socks. So minus 33 is based in New Hampshire, right?
Yes, Ashland, New
Okay.
Hampshire. We're basically just, if you put your finger on a map, the very center of New Hampshire.
Okay. And tell me about, because you got this new sock machine,
Hmm.
right? So you can make
So,
socks at this factory, or it's not even a factory, is it? It's the office.
well, the office is in the LW Packard mill. So we took one of our old mill buildings and we put all of our products back out there, and boxes of wool and picking station and shipping and everything. But also we sectioned off a corner of the building to have, our 6 sock making machines, our boarding machine, and all of the packaging and yarn and all of those things that go with it. And so basically, we tried to source really good socks for a really long time from a
So did
lot of
I.
places, and it just
So did
wasn't
I.
happening. And we really, really wanted
Yeah.
to make like a good, durable, well-fitting sock with a lot of merino wool in it, and we just didn't have either the suppliers or the wherewithal to really explain exactly how to make this sock. And so we went out and we bought sock machines, and I learned how to program and maintain and work with them. And then we bought a bunch of different yarns and just made socks until we could make a really high quality sock. And then we put it on the market. And I think every day we're getting better with it. But I feel like we're making one of the best socks in the industry because we're the ones wearing it every day. That's the real test is,
Well, so am
you
I. I'm wearing them every day.
yeah, and that's the amazing part because
Yeah.
I mean I really do like making socks, and I'll just tell you that the number one thing when you're wearing socks, and this is another safety feature, is that when you put on your sock, it has to be form fitted to your foot, like a second layer of skin. Because if you don't do that, if you have any extra space in your sock, you're going to end up with extra friction. And if you have extra friction, you're going to end up with extra holes and extra blisters. You're going to blow out your sock. And once you feel that hot spot in your foot and you're 10 miles out, you know you're going to just have a real bad day unless you've got a whole bunch of moleskin with you. Um, so when we made our socks, we looked at what was out there. Everyone was making these big, either baggier socks or bulkier socks, or socks that have a lot of nylon or for durability in them, but they weren't making those form fitting socks. And
Yeah.
that's almost, I think, a problem that I have with just selling them, is that they look a little bit smaller because they're supposed to be a skin over your foot to kind of protect you from friction. And they look a little small, and people say, oh, that won't fit on my foot. But no, that's the perfect sock for you. It won't blow out. We've had people hike the AT trail, and they came to our office here and they said, hey, I hiked the AT trail with one pair of your socks, and they were the only ones that didn't blow out the whole trail. I think that person's on the PT trail now with that same pair of socks. And so,
Hmm.
the proof is in just the fact that I can't. I'm trying to wear them out every day. Like I have a pair of
So am
socks that
I.
I'm wearing every time I can
And I'm
as
not
my
trying to
test
sell
socks.
them I'm not trying to sell socks to my listeners. Like I literally have a handful of minus 33 socks. I've had them for many years, maybe 5
Mhm.
years now, and they have not worn out. And
Yeah.
I'm a minimalist. I have only so many things of things, and those socks will and have not worn out at all. Not even a slightest, and the foot pad or anything. And I
Mhm.
and it was so funny when I saw that you were at OMS, I went over to you and I was literally wearing those socks because that's what I travel with. That's what I hike with. That's what I snow machine with. That's what I ski tour in. That's what I went to Peru for 4 months last fall in, and they
Mhm.
have not worn out. And I love them. And they don't stink afterwards. And I don't get it. I don't get it. So I was like, heck yes, I want to interview with you and let's tell everyone about the wonders of wool.
And it was just so wonderful at OMS because I got to talk to so many people about
Yeah.
socks, and there were several
Yeah.
people there that had tried the socks, or for one reason or another, and just talking to them, and it really made me realize that I think we got it right. But I'll say that even right now, I think I have 38 reviewers that are trying to provide feedback. We gave them all socks to go run marathons in, and like, hey, did you have any problems? Because that's the other side of it. As soon as we stop trying to improve, someone's going to beat us.
Yeah.
We really do want to make the best socks possible, or maybe I just want to make the best socks possible because I have sock machines, and it just seems like the most fun thing I could be doing. So.
That's so awesome. Your energy and love for wool and socks and giving to the outdoor community in a way that like keeps people safe and warm and happy is literally contagious. I can see it on your face, and I just love that about you. It's so fun.
And a little bit about me, I never thought I'd be able to get into this industry because, minus 33 started small and I had a
Yeah.
career and whatnot. But coming here and making socks and making some of the best garments that, like, I love wearing, it's very rewarding. And then just interacting with people that have worn the stuff, taking their feedback, it's the best job in the world. And selling a product that I know is keeping people alive in the wilderness, that's it's amazing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Lawson. I am so thrilled that you spent some time with me this afternoon or your evening. It's probably 9:30 there now, and it's 5:30 here or 6 o'clock here in Alaska, so it's 10 o'clock your time. Oh my gosh! Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with before we end?
um, just try wool. I mean, if you
Just
look
try.
up anything
Yeah.
about it, the research is there. I'm just saying what you can probably find on the internet or ChatGPT or whatever is topical when you listen to this podcast. But look into it. It's comfortable. It might save your life, and that's wool.
The wonders of wool.
The wonders of wool.